I hope you're doing great today. I have a question for you. Do you like to watch people's life stories unfold in front of you? Be business centric or be inspired by the things that they might go through in their life and how they work and everything? Well, if that's you, then you want to stay tuned for this edition of That Shit I Used to Do. Today's guest is Heath Wiggins from Nuptially Yours. I've known Heath for several years, and he's a great friend of mine, and I'm so excited to have him here with me. And
well, thank you for having me, Weezy. I'm glad to be
here.
here.
You are so welcome, Heath. And I'm going to guide Heath, but we're going to talk about what he used to do and how he came up with Nuptially Yours. So here is your official welcome, Heath, and I'm so glad that you're with me today. So Heath, the big burning question is, what was that shit you used to do?
Well, as you so colorfully put it, what I used to do. I used to be a print broker, interestingly enough. And actually, that was the concept / career focus that I had when you and I met.
Yes.
And actually, so just for people, so they get an understanding of what a print broker is a print broker is a person or a business that has a relationship with multiple print houses. And for me, it was all across the United States. And what happened is that when my clients and I would work together and we would work on a print project, I would go to these various print houses and I would find the best quote with the best quality. And then I would pass those savings and that opportunity on to my clients. So that's what a print broker did. And that's what I used to do.
And so why did you leave that field, Heath?
So interestingly enough, it was kind of an organic thing that happened where, it just kind of started winding down. And I had a real problem towards the end in myself, and an internal problem, not an external problem as doing the business or anything in it, but the internal problem for me was that I felt like whatever was happening in the market at the time for print, with business cards, letterhead, et cetera, like that. Mm-hmm. People really were trying to come up with ways to save money that way, which of course was the point of being a print broker, but they were going beyond that. They were choosing to go with a less quality product and really kind of saving pennies. And I had a real problem because anything that I attach my efforts to, I really wanted to be a quality thing. So it was kind of becoming a conflict where people were wanting a less quality product, interestingly enough, and they didn't care, but I couldn't personally get behind something that had less quality. So oftentimes for me, it was really so much of a wash, because what I would do is I could quote you something and I could get you a better quality product for the amount that you might pay for a lesser quality product, but people were still wanting to go even lower than that. And I couldn't do that anymore. And so interestingly enough, I think that energy that I had for that started to dwindle. And because that energy started to dwindle, so did people's interest in working with me. And it just kind of had this kind of downscale thing. And I ended up then just kind of running into the concept that I now do currently.
So you've started this business called Nuptially Yours.
Nuptially Yours, yeah.
So that is, well, I'll let you explain what Nuptially Yours is, and how you came to grow into this space.
So Nuptially Yours is a wedding officiant service. So I have ministerial training. I, went to a ministerial college years and years ago and never pursued my ordination, interestingly enough.
Now that part I never knew about you.
You didn't know that, huh?
I did not know that you had gone to ministerials.
Yeah, I did.
I did that. It's not rolling off my tongue so smooth. But I never knew you went. I'm going to say pastoral school.
Well, that works too. Absolutely. That was really the emphasis. So at the time, though, I actually had an emphasis in music. So I was a choir director for years in different churches and things like that. And that was my emphasis.
I did not know that about you. I knew that you have a fabulous voice, but I never knew that you were a worship leader either.
Yeah, so that was what I did. I grew up thankfully in the church where I was encouraged to share that gift, and then it was just one of those things when you grow up, you know, kind of an emphasis to go to school and continue pursuing that.
Mhm.
So that's what I did, but then I never sought my ordination, and I could have. And so I had come to this place when the print brokership was dwindling, and I don't know whether you remember what it was called, but remember it was Heath Wiggins Print Dynamics, you know, kind of thing. So we used to be Print Dynamics. And when that was dwindling for me, I was really trying to come up with this concept because I felt like that with that ministerial background and everything, I wanted something with purpose. I wanted something that really kind of met people at not only a need, but met people at a life event, for the lack of a better way to put it, something that really contained meaning for them.
Weddings are life events.
They are life events, they're major life events. And of course, with the wedding industry, I think personally, and this is coming from somebody who obviously officiates a lot of weddings, is, you know, now it's become this own industry.
Yes.
And so I have been able to, you know, hitch my wagon to that star, as it were. But at the same time, I really believe that it was a great intersection for me to intersect with purpose and business. And it's so funny how much that propels you in a positive direction when you are able to mix the both. You know, we talk about pursuing our passion, which is great, but it's a little bit beyond that. It's got to be somewhere where really what your inward motion intersects with the outward motion. And that's what this has done for me. So, but we are a wedding efficient service, just to kind of boil it back to that. And
just let me, I want to differentiate something from just what I'm hearing you say. You didn't just go online and fill out the paperwork and now I can officiate weddings, or I can, you know, you have some background. You have credentials behind you, and do you have, and how are you, just address that, and then I have another question for you.
So, well, so I'll address that a couple different ways here. You know, one of the things, and I say a couple different ways, is because one of the things that does happen is that when you pursue a ministerial calling, what happens is with the organizations of ministerial callings, you have to stay current with a certain organization in order to be considered a licensed and ordained minister. Mm-hmm. Now, interestingly enough, that sometimes through the process of like retirement or otherwise, which, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because if you're not actively ministering at a church, you are in some form of either leave or retirement. That's just the way it is. You're either active or not active. And so what has been happening, especially in the officiant industry, is that you have full-fledged retired pastors, ministers, et cetera. And those are people that I have on staff now with our officiant association. But they've had to, because they retired, and you never retire from ministry. You know that as well as anybody, Louise. So, but once you are in a different vein in your life, even though you have spent all those years in ministry, you have to pursue a different way to have a current ordination. So I have a lot of officiants, including myself, who have the background, but then have had, in order to keep an ordination current, there have been online courses we have taken. There have been different ordination processes. And in truth, my ordination is through an online service, but it's backing up all the things that I did in the past. So, so in order to stay current, a lot of us do use online entities or online courseware or different things that certify that we are ordained and licensed, et cetera. And then we have our current active. I have a youth pastor here in Charlotte, which is where we're based. And since he is active in his church, he's ordained through that church. He doesn't have to seek an alternative current licensing. So that's
Right.
how that works. You have to be current with some sort of organization.
So just so that this is a question that I have, because I just see, you'll see things on television, and I've been to weddings where they're going, well, I just went online and I signed out some paperwork so that I could officiate this wedding. Is it, is there people that can just easily just do that so that it can be just legal, signing the legal documents and stuff, or
So
how
it
does that work? Do you know how
so
that
it
works?
yeah, I sure do. So depending on what state you're in, interestingly enough, depends on the legality of an online ordination. Now, just as a piece of advice, if there are viewers who are, hey, I'm going to do my cousin's wedding, hey, I'm going to, officiate somebody's wedding, I need this or that. I would always recommend that you actually choose, if you are going to choose an online source, I would always recommend choosing an online source that asks you to sincerely either go through a course of things or answer a series of questions that define your commitment to this. Not that it's just one. I mean, a lot of people are doing the one-off. I'm going to do this just so I can marry I can officiate the wedding of my friend.
Yeah, and that's
Uh,
the one that I've seen more of a little bit of a rise of that. So
yeah, there is a rise of that. I don't poo-poo that only because it's one of those things where as long as the person is pursuing the channels that are established, and there are legal channels that are established, it's okay to do it. That being said, though, you're also dealing with a great deal of inexperience. The truest legality of a ceremony now is that it has to have two functions. First of all, it has to, in front of witnesses, it has to ask the couple who are exchanging, their vows, and has to ask them, are you here of your own accord? Are you here because you want to be here? Nobody's dragging you or using a shotgun to get you to the altar. And then secondly, that person who has sought that ordination or that licensing has to declare that they sanction the wedding, that they acknowledge the wedding, and that they are married in that state. But for instance, all that's being said and done, you can't do any of this in Tennessee. So if you're in Tennessee, you can only be married by someone who is in an active religious or governmental position.
okay,
For instance, I have, like I said, I have retired pastors who are officiating with our service right now. They cannot officiate in Tennessee because they have got current certification from a different source.
okay.
If they were still pastoring actively, they could go into Tennessee and perform that wedding. But because they're retired and they have an alternative source of current credentials, then they cannot. So,
Well, that's really interesting, because you'll see things and it's like, oh well, any Joe Smo can just go sign up and become, but that's just common perception. Uh, and so I'm glad that you were able to educate us on that. So now that you have started this, how many officiants do you have?
So we're up to 12 officiants currently. It was funny, when I started Nuptially Yours, it was just a concept that I planned on using. It was my branding name was Nuptially Yours, and that was what was on my business cards and everything like that. And interestingly enough, I printed my own business card. I know you're shocked by that, but the print broker
I'm
never
with
goes
you.
away. Yeah, exactly. So, so that's how that came to be. And I started getting requests for my services that I was either already booked or wasn't able to do. And I thought, you know what, I can broaden this concept. So I did, and I asked a friend to one of the retired pastors, actually, if he would be interested in joining me. He was totally thrilled and totally on board right away. And then the next thing I knew, I had people approaching me going, hey, we love this concept. Can we join you? Or, we're retired minister from this, or we're have pursued our, biblical studies in this, on and on and on, and went to the point where it has grown. I have officiants who are Reiki masters. And, in order to become a Reiki master, you have to seek your ordination and things like that. So I have a Reiki master.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So I have that. I have motivational and inspirational speakers who that's their main gig, but then they became ordained through different courses of study and they do that. I have a wonderful, wonderful counselor and a therapist who that was part of her pursuit. She wanted to pursue a spiritual course as well as a scientific course. And she was so instrumental in helping me expand, because she, interestingly enough, through this whole process of meeting people and everything like that, fell in love herself. And she just moved to Seattle. So we went from being literally North and South Carolina based to where, through friendships and relationships and everything, we're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Washington State right now.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
And so next thing I know, I have a meeting with a potential pioneer of the Arizona area, so Phoenix area. And so we really are thrilled. We hope to double our states by the end of 2019. So we're in 5 states now. We hope to be in 10 by the end of the year, and then just keep on doubling that as we go. So
that's good. So if somebody wants to find you and learn more about you, how can people find you, Heath?
So we're on all those good social media outlets. I say good, that's probably a big joke, but actually, go to our website. You can do www.nuptiallyyours.com. And then the other concepts are websites, social media sites. You can find us on Pinterest. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Those are our 3 big ones. So.
Very cool. And Heath will provide me with those links that I can then later put into the comments here so that you can follow him and all of that good stuff. Well, Heath, our time has come to an end, and it has just been a utter delight to catch back up with you and see what you're up to see what shit you're up to these days.
Well, I'm up to a lot these days, and sometimes it gets pretty deep too, but
Yeah, it does. Well, Heath, I just thank you for coming on, and it's been a delight. And until next time, we come on every 3rd Thursday of each month with a new guest. And if you would like to be a guest, shoot me a message, and I would love to hear more about the shit you used to do. I am Louise, aka Weezy, with Wednesdays with Weezy. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.